Well, as you can see, we are in the upper garden at Downtown Greens, and we are surrounded by dead plants. And a lot of people might look at this and say, well, what lazy gardeners they are, not taking out all those dead plants.
What lazy gardeners you are by not taking out these dead plants.
I know. It turns out we're smart and sometimes lazy, but smart mostly. The reason we leave all these dead plants, and the reason we hope that others will start to leave their dead plants in the fall, is because our insects build their little homes in the stems and blooms and seed pods of dead plants, and they survive the winter in these plants. So to remove the dead plants now would be to kill a lot of insects that would be emerging in the spring otherwise. So to leave the dead plants means that we don't kill our insects. And a lot of people are like, well, yes, let's kill insects because they're creepy and I don't like them.
However,
while they can look creepy sometimes, insects are so important to the food web, to the whole web of living things. Our insect populations in America have been declining drastically since 2020. They have declined between 20 to 75% depending on the species, which is extremely worrisome.
That's alarming.
It's alarming. And if you are of my age or older, you may remember when you were younger, driving down the road, your windshield would get splattered with insects. You know, it was an issue.
Now that you say that, that hasn't been an issue.
It's not an issue anymore. Like you're lucky if you hit an insect with your car. And that's because the insect population is on a drastic decline. And it is really up to each of us to do what we can to help keep our insects thriving and to boost the numbers back up. So much of our wildlife starts with the insects.
Birds.
The birds eat the insects. The plants need the insects to spread and to pollinate. The dead organic matter, the leaves, the logs, they all need insects to help break them down and add those nutrients back into the soil for our plants, which then feed our birds. The insects feed our birds. You know, it goes up on the chain. So starting at the lowest level with the insects, if we lose them, even beyond pollination, we're in big trouble. So
it starts in your own garden.
It starts in your own garden. And if you want to be lazy like us, that means you get to leave the dead plants in your garden. And while we do understand some people like to have a tidier look, and we do remove some dead plants to have a tidier look, we keep as many as we can. And at the end of the day, if you take a moment just to look at some of the dead blooms and dead seed pods on these plants, you will discover that they have a beauty of their own beyond spring and summer flowers that really lend to the fall and winter landscape. And you're just doing the ecosystem and our wildlife a huge favor by leaving them where they're at and not removing them until spring, when the temperatures get around 50 degrees and you can take them out and make room for all the new fun flowers.
In the spring, you usually you start seeing the green starting to come up.
Yes.
and you see them. You can
yes.
take them out.
Yeah, I think the general rule is that once the evenings are above 50 degrees, once the low of the day is above 50 degrees or higher, that's when you can remove your dead plants. You know, but Virginia's crazy weather, so sometimes it happens a little bit before then, sometimes it happens a little later. But yeah, you know, if you're a gardener, you know how to listen to your garden, and you know when it's time to take these out in the spring.
This is really interesting, Janet, because I look around here and I look at a lot of different things here, and I think in my own yard I have pulled these things up, not even thinking about what you talked about.
Right. I mean, not only is it providing the habitat for the insects to overwinter in these plants, but just leaving the leaves where they're at to decompose instead of raking all your leaves up and, you know, burning them or bagging them up and sending them to the landfill. Just leaving them there adds a lot of organic matter to your soil, which helps your garden, helps your lawn. In leaf litter itself, you not only have insects, but you have other pollinators. You have lizards, you have rodents, you have all those little tiny animals that have made a home for themselves in that leaf litter. So to rake it up and push it to the side or burn it, again, is just destroying their little wintertime homes, and it's definitely adding to the decline of insects. So to leave the dead plants, leave your leaves, learn how to appreciate their beauty, is just one of the best things you can do, and it's one of the easiest things you can do to support our insect populations.
And to find out about this and a whole lot of other things, downtowngreens.org has great information, and get involved with Downtown Greens.
Yeah, come on by anytime.